Okay, so today's topic is called Trapped in Suburbia. Wild nature is essential. When I am in wild nature, I think different thoughts, I feel different ways, and my spirit is invigorated in ways that are simply impossible in a suburban environment. Now, the purpose of this essay is not to dump on suburbia, but to illustrate how we have imprisoned ourselves within these comfortable four walls and how difficult it is to actually get out and experience wild nature. Now, I'm an outdoorsman. I do all methods of getting outdoors: motorbike, quad, hiking, mountain biking, everything. And I wanted to talk today about how difficult it is and why I think more people don't do it, because it's so complicated. We have legal, we have financial, and we have geographic boundaries, we have technical boundaries. And in order to spend more time in wild nature, it actually requires a change of lifestyle. And in my opinion, that's bad. I have ideas on ways to change that, but primarily it starts with the decision point to make wild nature a part of your life. What do I mean? I like to go quadding. I like the force, not the force, I like the motion of quadding, but mostly I use it as a horse, my wonderful little horse here. I mostly use it as a horse, as a means to get to remote nature. It's fun when you do it. It's relatively inexpensive. And it allows you to go places you can't usually get to by just hiking alone because they're so far out. And it allows you to get to places that you can't get to with a truck because of the size dimensions of this and the capability, right? This isn't an advertisement for quads. This is just a comment that this is my personal favorite way to get out into wild nature, other than a nice hike. So today's adventure is about 30 miles away. I've been there before. It's lovely. But it requires several vehicles, several legal hurdles, and several technical hurdles just to get over there. And it's really a burden. Now, I have the time and the resources to do it, but it's so sad. Like, if I were to invite a neighbor kid or family to come with me, that would change the entire dynamics. I would have to multiply the number of vehicles, etc., etc. And this is such a burden for something that's so critical for us. And the comment is, why are we burying ourselves in these comfortable mausoleums instead of spending more time outdoors? You have to answer that for yourself. Here's part of my journey. I am not sponsored or anything. This is coming out of my pure interest, like I want to say kind-hearted interest for folks who are interested in this, because I just don't find inspiration sitting at home very much. And I don't find inspiration driving my car to the town where I would spend time in either, the grocery store or the restaurant or a friend's house. It's just all this, we're just spending our lives in one box, getting on the box on wheels and moving to another box. And yeah, that's been our life, but maybe there's more to it. Okay. So what I'm going to get through is the steps that I have to go through to legally and safely go 30 miles away. And those of you who know will recognize this. Those of you who don't know will be like, oh my God, we need a change. We need to think differently about how we live our lives and start putting wild nature as part of it. So, okay, step one, the quad. Now the quad is the oil is checked, the battery's good, I got fresh tires, I just paid for insurance and registration, which was over $100 for insurance on this in combination with the registration and the street registration and this and that. The other hurdle is that when I'm off-road, I have to make sure that I bring my wallet and I bring proof of insurance and proof of registration, and then proof of street registration if I'm on the street. And any points of those, also I have to have I have to have a rear view mirror, I have to have working headlights, working taillights, right? Dude, this all adds up. This all adds up, and all that becomes like a legal burden. So if I go out and I don't have my proof of insurance and I don't have my registration, I have to lean on the discretion of the officer. If the officer's having a bad day and decides to give it to me, it is hundreds of dollars potentially at risk, and my insurance rates go up, and the whole deal. The whole point is, again, there's legal requirements that maybe should be lessened. Maybe if wild nature is a bigger part of our lives, we wouldn't have to spend so much time on enforcement. I ride within the rules of the road, et cetera, but you know, there's a lot of legal hurdles you have to look out for, and I don't think they're all. In my opinion, it's not for the safety of humans. If I have young kids, and I wanted to take my daughter out on the quad, that's illegal. You can't do that. She can't sit on this vehicle at any point in time and be, quote, legal. She would be safe. I have a bazillion miles of experience. I would never put her in harm's way purposely. But if she were to sit here in my lap, and I were to sit here, or if she were to sit in the back, I could be subject to a very significant legal fine, and the trauma of the legal process on her and me would dampen our excitement to go outside. So why is that more valid than making it more exciting to go outside? There's no encouragement to go outside and to be in the wild nature. It's all downers. You know, this is not. This is a wonderful experience for someone who's young. I routinely see deer on my journeys. I've seen other wild nature and birds and bees, and you get out to places you simply will never visit otherwise. Why is it such a burden? To legally take my daughter off-road, I would have to have a legally approved 2-seat quad, which is doubling the price of this one, which therefore doubles the insurance value, the purchase price, etc., and I don't want it. This quad is perfectly capable of taking me and my daughter safely anywhere I want to go. Perfectly capable. Why do we allow these regulations to stand in the way? There isn't. We have this potential for hundreds of thousands of people to get outside, and in fact nationwide, millions of people and kids to go outside and have a great time, versus dampening everyone's excitement for going outside. And the only thing that stands in the way is like, oh, you're saving the children. Well, guess what? You're saving them from wild nature. You're just putting them back into the boxes where they're going to be on the little glowing screens, instead of actually going out and seeing antelope for real, instead of at the zoo. Whereas if I took her to the zoo, that would be a totally approved behavior. It's 2 hours away. I got to pay an entrance fee. I got to spend all that time in the vehicle, buy the cheap food at the zoo ranch, as opposed to actually using this for wild nature access. It's backwards. It's nuts. It's nuts. It's just nuts. It's just that things are upside down. Okay, that rant is over. So I got the quad ready. How can I get out to where I want to go? Well, I got the minivan ready. Oh, but how are we going to get out there? I can't ride my quad all that distance on the street. I could. It's legal. It's street legal. I can't handle the stress of either the state trooper pulling me over, because I'd have to use, there's a mile of freeway I've got to cover, right? And these things aren't legal for highway use, but they're legal for road use. Okay. And that all, quote, makes sense, but that means that I've got a trailer out there. All right, okay, great. Now I got a trailer. But look where I live. Look where I live. Right? I live in an organized community. It's all organized, right? 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 And what you're not seeing here is that if I leave my trailer outside with my quad on it, even attached to the vehicle, I'll get dinged by the homeowners association. Ask me how I know. I left my quad on the trailer, connected to the minivan, parked on the drive pad with the garage closed, and in 2 days I got a notification. It's nonsense. It's just priority backwardness. Okay, so that's the other hurdle. So Dan's got to get a trailer. Okay, well, you got to get a trailer that fits in the homeowner's agreement, or the one that's legal, quote, legal to have here. Well, okay, Dan, you complain so much. Oh, you just complain all the time. You should move somewhere else. Oh, so I have to move to a different house in a different community to have a trailer outside the house. It's nuts. It's nuts. I'm here for reasons outside of the OHV area. I mean, the reason. Right? So it goes back to the point that in order to go to wild nature, you've got to have a lifestyle change. But that's wrong. That's wrong. The rules should be amended so that people who want to get outside have it easier to get outside because it's better for me and it's better for everyone else. Here's the trailer. Okay. This is a lovely folding trailer made by Kendon, and those who know it, and it's very well used, but it's a special trailer. Like it's limited in use because I can fold it up and put it in the garage. Yes, I could put a horizontal trailer here. It would take up most of this 2-car garage. I chose this. Yes, it's true. This is my choice. And it's worked great. It works great. It's actually probably not legal to have the quad on it. And if I met some state trooper and he was really grumpy, I'd probably get a citation. I haven't yet, but I probably could. Why should I have to suffer that presumptive legal burden for doing something that's so vital for all of us? I don't have an answer for that other than we've buried ourselves in rules and regulations that make it so difficult to get outside. You know, it's just nuts. Everything points to staying at home and staying on the screen. Okay, so this trailer's nice and lightweight. I can roll it out by myself. But if I were a little person, if I were a small person and I couldn't move it, that'd be the end of the story. You could not legally go quadding easily unless you had a horizontal trailer and another that taking up 2/3 of the garage for this trailer that you only use, once a month, is a good idea. And what happens is people just don't. They just don't. Or they buy a side-by-side, they park it inside the garage, and it gets dust on it, and it goes out once every few months or weeks. I see it happen all the time. The side-by-sides are great, $15,000 to $30,000 for those. They're outstanding. They go on the road, et cetera, et cetera. They have their own maintenance and expense issues. Yes, you can put a young person in a side-by-side and take them out, but it's a little scary to go 60 miles an hour on those things on the freeway. And they've got to have their own safety issues. And there's another aspect too. As opposed to, this is a little editorializing, as opposed to the quad, which is intimate, like you're sitting on the quad, like you would sit on a horse, and you're going slow speeds, and you can feel the body of your dad, you're in your dad's arms. It's a different experience of being in the back of the side-by-side, getting the dust and stuff. And it's still fun and all that. And I'm not saying it's not fun. It's just saying the quad for me is far more intimate and more fun and more versatile and not as threatening or loud. It's actually faster on the trails. Don't tell the side-by-side guys. Anyway, so the whole point is that it seems like a simple task to go 30 miles out, but it's really not. Okay, so I got the trailer. Okay, lights, tires, insurance, registration. That's a third vehicle in the process. Okay, the old minivan here, right? Standard old Dodge minivan. Works great. You got to get the tow hitch going on right here, right? Get the wiring together for that. That's fine. It works great. But when I go, I have to load it up, right? Load the trailer up, get the minivan together, load the quad on the minivan, strap it all down, go out to the site. I got to make sure that the minivan can get to the site that I'm going to. I got to have, I got to select the site appropriately, meaning the ground clearance for the minivan, et cetera, et cetera. It's got to be safe enough, blah, 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 blah. And, those of us who go outside, we know these details. But the point is when you add them all up and you're having a bad day or your calendar gets busy, it's just so easy to drop it. Just drop it and just do something else. Just stay inside. Just stay home. Just go to the bar. Just go to the restaurant. Just go to Netflix. Whatever. But you're missing out on one of the crucial elements of life, and that is the actual experience of being in wild nature, which, as again, according to my understanding, is actually transformative, metamorphic, in fact. So, for those who are listening to this, think about how you can change your lives and how we can change our lives as a culture to make these points less of a burden, and that we can make wild nature part of our lives, our regular lives, our easy, regular lives, rather than the burden that it is, because everything is stacked now that wild nature is, quote, recreational. It is not essential. It is put off. You know, if it's easier to buy a new fridge. It's easier to, you know, order new countertops or flooring than it is to go outside and experience something, one of the true miracles of life, and that is, you know, actual wild nature, to actually be in the mystery of the world, as opposed to the how would you say, the known things of man. And when someone grows up in this environment, the house environment, the iPhone environment, the refrigerator environment, the air conditioner environment, you know, they start thinking in those ways. I call it city thinking as opposed to wild thinking or country thinking. And I've been in both worlds, and I know this. But your world becomes smaller and not nearly as exciting and thrilling as when you're out in nature. And in fact, I think it was Thomas Jefferson would ponder a subject, and he'd go for a walk. And, you know, his walks were, it was probably city, but he was probably out in his estate. And he probably wasn't just walking in his estate. I'm assuming he was probably out in the forest. And that changes who we are for the better. And it helps us appreciate who and how we are in the world, and how it's much more wonderful than our bathroom and toilet and hard surface floors and all these things, which are wonderful. But I see our house as a temporary dwelling, you know, where it's comfortable to sleep and eat. But we need to get out. I need to get out. And it's important to recognize that it's not simple, because that's the first hurdle, is recognizing what the actual hurdles are in order to make it more effective and more ingrained. You know, a corollary to this is also a bicycle transport, that it'd be great to just hop on a bicycle and go down to the grocery store. But in this community, it's a life-threatening experience. And that's a separate topic. But the whole point is, like, we got to put nature and convenience and actual human dwelling experiences at the center of our life. Walking, biking, being in nature should be at the center point of life, and the other things should be on the periphery, as opposed to now, the center point of life is the grocery store, the house, the school, the job, all interconnected by various levels of concrete and asphalt. And that's the world we have, and that's great, and I've used it. I've been the benefactor of that. But it's so limiting, and it's so sad. So I hope this is both encouraging and challenging for folks, and you know, rally yourselves to make the changes that are necessary. I think our lives, my life, is certainly more richer once I incorporate more of wild nature. So I'm sure I'm missing some point, but I think I hit the main points, and I hope this finds you well, and maybe I'll see you on the trail.